Alright, this is the last part in activity 5.5b. We are going to be making the female Automoblox person. This is going to be a little bit of a long video. There are a lot of steps, a bunch of new tools, and a ton of dimensioning in this. I will most likely intentionally leave out some of the dimensions because I want you to have to look at the packet and try to figure some of them out for yourself. You will probably struggle. They are hard to find because they're sort of all over the place, but this is a weird shape and there's a lot of dimensions to keep track of. So we're going to start by making our triangular base. If you click on the drop down under rectangle, you need to go all the way down to polygon. It's kind of hidden down here. We want a three-sided polygon, so make sure you type in 3. I think it usually defaults to 6, but make sure you type in 3. And then I would snap it to your origin, and as you drag out, you'll see you have a polygon. I would strongly suggest you try to keep the point of your polygon facing upwards. So go ahead and just place it, and then you can be done with your polygon tool, kind of put that away, and get out your dimensioning tool, and go from the point down. And if you look in your packet, it tells you that the point down is 0.556. Alright, so we need to extrude this. And once you put in the appropriate dimension, you will have your triangle. So now I have my triangle extruded, and I'm going to start creating the 3 different sections that make up the female character plus the head. So the first is, I guess, what we'd call the legs. So that's what I'm going to be referring to it as. I'm going to place a sketch on the top of my triangle. And the nice thing is that because we placed it in the center of the origin, we can always snap to the origin because all of our ellipses are going to be concentric. So the bottom ellipse is dimensioned on page 11. And if we go up to our circle tool, drop down again and choose ellipse, I'm going to click on my origin, drag out for my width, and then drag up for my height. Get my dimensioning tool. I'm going to click on my ellipse and drag to the right, and that's going to give me the height, or my minor axis, and that is going to be 0.105. And I'm going to click on it again, and this time drag down, and that's going to give me the major axis or major radius, which is 0.125. It is just a little bit elliptical. It's not a big ellipse. It almost kind of looks like a circle. So I'm going to finish my sketch because this is not an extrusion to create the legs. This is actually a loft. So I'm going to finish my sketch. So new tool. We're going to click on the plane button. This is fairly simple. As you hover over the flat triangular shape, you can click and drag away. You can see that my box pops up, and basically what that allows me to do is put how far I want it to move away from my shape. So I need to look in my packet and see that the distance between my sketch and my other sketch that make up the legs is going to be, if you look on page 11, there is a little tiny box with a check and an X that looks just like yours, and in there it says 0.19, and that's the dimension that we're going to use to push away our work plane that we are creating. So if I look at this from the side, you can see that there's a 0.19 inch space between our triangle and our work plane now. Go back to my sideways view, and I'm going to start a new sketch on my work plane that I just created. If you use project geometry and select just the center point, that will give you the center point for where your new ellipse needs to be placed. I'm going to choose my ellipse tool, and I'm going to draw my new ellipse. I'm going to black out these dimensions because I want you to do them for yourself. So make sure that you dimension it here. And yours should look very similar to mine once you have actually created it. I'm going to finish my sketch. And I'm now going to perform a loft. Choose my loft tool, which we used in the last activity. Choose my first sketch. Choose my shape. Click to add another sketch. I'm going to choose this one and this shape and click OK. So now I have created my legs of my Automoblox Female. I'm going to turn off my work plane. I'm not deleting it. I'm just going to turn off its visibility in the event that I want to work with it later on. So I'm going to rotate my part a little bit just to kind of keep it in perspective. My next step is to keep working as I move upwards. So I'm going to create a new sketch on the top of the legs. I'm going to draw my new ellipse. So the bottom of the dress is going to have dimensions that are 0.4 by 0.6. So obviously the minor radius is going to need to be half of that, so 0.2. And the major radius is going to be half of 0.6, 0.3. I'm going to finish my sketch. Same process as before. I am going to take my plane, click and drag this surface upwards. I need to dimension that, and you can see that it is 0.36 from the drawing. I'm going to place a new sketch on my work plane right there. And again, I would suggest that you project the geometry of just the center point so you know exactly where to start your ellipse. So I will draw my ellipse here. It's going to be a little bit confusing. You're going to have a bunch of ellipses all on top of each other, so just try your best to keep track of them. The waist is 0.31 by 0.39, so my minor axis is going to be 0.31 divided by 2. So because they're not easy numbers, I'm just going to let Inventor do the math for me. And my major radius is going to be 0.39 divided by 2. I'm going to finish my sketch. Again, use my loft. Choose this sketch here. And it automatically selected that surface, but just in case, you should click right here where my mouse is. I'm going to click to add, choose my second sketch, and it automatically chose it again. So I'll click OK, and now I have the bottom half of the dress. Okay, so from here, you can turn off the visibility of your work plane because you're not really using it anymore once you have this surface. What's nice about making the top part of the dress is that it goes very quickly, because you simply need to start a sketch on the top of the dress, or the middle of the dress, I guess, and then just project geometry and finish your sketch, because you want it to match perfectly with the dress, and that's basically what you do with project geometry. So from here, you're going to again take your plane, drag it up, dimension how far it needs to go, make a new ellipse up top here, create a loft, and then you'll have the dress complete. I will come back with mine finished. So from this point, we have everything that is drawn in your packet completed. What I would suggest that you do is, you can see I have a purple line right around the waist, and you will most likely have that as well. You just need to turn off the visibility on sketch 6, and that will make that go away. Your next step is to go ahead and draw the head. So the head can be a little bit difficult because what you need to do is place a work plane in the middle of your part, which is a little bit challenging. The easiest way to do this is open up your origin folder, hover over the planes, and basically just pick one that runs through the middle. This is the only one that really doesn't. You can either choose the YZ plane or the XZ plane. I think the YZ plane for me is going to be my better option. I'm going to click on it and then rotate my part and just make sure that it's running through the middle, and it is. So from this point, I'm going to place a sketch on my work plane, and I'm going to use F7 to slice my graphics just like it did before. And I'm going to draw the head just like they did in the male Automoblox figure. You guys can go ahead and do that. Make the head, sketch it, revolve it, and then if you're not happy with it, go back and edit, and then you'll basically have the Automoblox Female all finished up. But you have everything you need to finish up this part and finish up the rest of this packet. Make sure that you finish your conclusion questions, and you will be all done.